Okay, class, so today our learning target is going to be to identify how Southern policy sought to keep African Americans oppressed. So especially we're going to talk about poll taxes and literacy tests. So reminder, we will have a project on this subject. It'll be in the next couple weeks or so, so make sure you're really good on this stuff. If you have any questions, make sure you ask them. So just review, we talked about how we passed the 14th Amendment and the Civil Rights Bill, and what did that do? Can anyone remind us?
That made all black born people in the U.S. citizens.
Right, everyone born in the U.S. is a citizen, and it also outlawed the black codes, except for Indians. They were not included in that Civil Rights Bill. Anyways, let's talk about the Democrats. What do they believe again? Can anyone kind of refresh us?
Social reform.
Good, against social reform, absolutely. What else?
Continue slavery.
Pro-slavery. One more big one. Has to do with taxes.
They didn't like them.
They were anti-taxes, right? Social reform is expensive. It costs tax money. They didn't want taxes. So anyways, yep, there you go. No educational funding in the South was a big thing. Gotta remember that. So let's talk about poll tax and literacy tests. So this was practiced in the South. So first of all, anyone voting, they had to pay for it. You had to pay to vote, and you had to prove that you could read. So you had to pass a literacy test. So who were they targeting? Anyone have ideas?
They were targeting the newly free African American population.
Absolutely. So why do you think the newly free African Americans were so susceptible to these two things? Shane?
Previously, they weren't allowed to learn how to read or write.
Right, slaves were not allowed to learn to read or write, so they didn't know how. And this is only a few years after the Civil War ended, so they haven't had time to read. Why else? So we know they never learned to read and write. Why would the taxes be a problem for African Americans at this time?
They can't afford to don't have anything that don't any value. They've been freed, but they weren't given anything.
Right, they just got freed. Like a lot of them don't have much at the time, and of course the southern states aren't very helpful in any of that. So that's good. That's exactly why it affected them so strongly. So let's think about some of the unintended consequences of this. Give me a second here. Need the whiteboard. So we have that African Americans could not read or write at this time. And we know that they can't afford taxes. So other than that, so this was the main goal of this policy, right? Would everyone agree with that? So what were some of maybe the unintended consequences? So who else would this have affected? Any ideas?
Poor white population.
Yeah, right. Poor white people, they wouldn't be able to afford the poll taxes. Who else? Poor whites, well,
Uneducated white.
the uneducated ones. And as we know about Democrats, they don't believe in educational funding, right? So there are a lot of people who just, they weren't educated. They didn't know how to read or write. So with this here, you have poor whites who are also uneducated. They're suddenly placed on, they're kind of placed on a level playing field with the newly freed slaves. And kind of what we learned about like the Southerners, what do you think they might have thought about that?
Well, they don't want to be like slaves. Like they don't want to be in the same class. They think they're better than them still.
Absolutely, yeah. They think they're much better than the African Americans. So this is one unintended consequence. So what might have come from this here? So you have poor white people, they can't vote, or they're unable to pass the literacy test. What do you think they want to start pushing for? What do they? Yeah.
Segregation.
They want to start. They're going to start pushing for segregation. This is where we're going to start seeing that form, because they want to do everything they can to like separate themselves, right? They need to feel superior. And so although this kept African Americans from voting, it really started to affect like the social aspect of the South. And they started pushing for segregation within the country. So good job. Let's see if I can get this turned back on. There we go. So that's it for today's lesson. Good job. Way to really get all that figured out, and we'll keep talking about this later.